Hey everybody, we've just finished our first interview of season 15 on the Writing Community Chat Show, which is amazing. 15 seasons. It's come from nowhere. It's amazing. We just had an interview with Anna Britton, who is a crime fiction author who is on a journey of publishing and a 5-book series in setup, ready to go. She's written 2 books. She's writing the next 3, but she's also dabbling in romance novels, and she's also going to do a self-published journey as well. It's really kind of interesting, and there's a lot of benefits to the show that we just had, including the fact she's an editor and a mentor for authors as well. So a lot of good information in there, and just a lovely person. Chris, how did you feel that interview went?
Yeah, it was a great interview. Obviously, season 15 started as well, and they didn't just come from anywhere, mate. It's been a long time. We've been doing it for a long time. And obviously, you can watch, I think I'm right in saying this, but you can go back and you can watch all of the other 14 series on either our Substack or our YouTube. But season 15, if you want to watch it now, is exclusive to Substack. So if you want to go back and binge, you can do that on Substack or on YouTube. Do that. We've interviewed over 300 authors, and there's loads of advice there. If you want to write a book, we are the show for you to watch. However, if you want to watch this season, and we got loads of great authors, including Anna, obviously, who we just had on. She's got some great advice in the crime writing world. I'm particularly interested in crime, as you may know if you've watched the show, and I picked her brains for a few little niche little tips in crime as well. So it's a great episode. She was a lovely person. I definitely recommend going and getting a book. And yeah, she's done a romantasy as well. So if you're not into crime, she's got different genres for you. So I would definitely check that interview out. It was a great interview. And yeah, loved having her on.
Yep, certainly do that. And she's a podcaster herself, helping other writers too. So dealing with rejection, which is also great. So lots of things to check out in that interview, and we will put our links in the description. There'll be a new post on Substack coming up with clips of the show in video format and podcast format. So if you do want to check that out, join our Substack, and we will release those interviews later on for the non-paying members. But by joining up, you get to do all the live stuff. You get to have Q&As with us and support this show massively. And our plan is to support the authors where we can as well. So it's very, very helpful to us. But yeah, it was great. Like Chris said, some great authors lined up for season 15. So really looking forward to it. And yeah, come and join us. Check out the interview. The link will be, depending on the platform, I think up there or down there. So click it. Thanks, guys.
It's quite difficult in terms of like, you might, if you read true crime, a detective might have like one big case that's like book worthy. But then obviously if you're writing a series, you've got to give that detective like multiple big cases that are book worthy. So how do you navigate that process?
A lot of anxiety, really. Just worry a lot. One of the feedbacks I've had from Close to the Edge is that people often say that it's even better than the first one, which is lovely, reassuring, but also it makes me then go, oh gosh, what was wrong with the first one? Which is not what they're saying. But it's your author head immediately tries to find the problem, doesn't it? I think for me, it's about like finding things that test them in different ways. So it's sort of in the first book, it's sort of someone's killed in a forest. It's really remote. There's a lot of suspects. They're all lying. So it's a really tricky case to figure out. And then in the second book, I won't say why, but Gabe has a sort of physical problem with her shoulder. And that really holds her back. And so then she's trying to work with sort of physical things holding her back. And then in the third book, which I really won't say too much about, she's then throughout the series, it sort of explores Gabe coming to terms with having PTSD. And that is a point where she is very much struggling with PTSD. So then she's sort of trying to solve a case despite what her mind is doing. So that's kind of, and I try to think of different, like, I quite like basing it around a murder. That sounds weird. But like, I think murders are quite, like, to me, it's quite cut and dry. Like, someone's died and then you've got to figure it out. I don't like massively like sustained tension. I'm not very good with that in terms of like, oh no, is someone going to turn up and be okay? I'd kind of just rather know that they're dead and figure out why. So they do tend to start with a murder. But like, say the first one's in the forest. The second one is kind of, I can't say where because that's a spoiler, but somewhere else.
Is it the sort of series that someone can start with book 2, or do they need to go through from book 1?
People have, and one of the things that my publisher was really hot on was set like, let's make it standalone. Yeah, with series potential, whatever it is. So they were very much like, let's make sure we like explain who each character is and kind of like that. One thing I would say is that there is like stuff you will miss out on, in terms of like, so the 2 main characters called Gabe and Juliet, and their arc is going to go across the whole series. So if you could in theory pick up like book 5, which hopefully will be the last in the series, but you would then miss out on all the stuff that's been building to book 5. So
is that a challenge as an author then? Because if you're writing close to the edge, having already established the characters, to rewrite them into the book almost, is that a difficulty for an author?
Yeah, it's really weird. And particularly because I know them so well. So it's having to think, right, when the person appears, let's describe them as though they're a new person. And that's kind of, and it's that really slightly clunky thing of going, this is Alice, who I've done this with. All the things that, like, it's that thing where you trust that the reader has the sort of suspended disbelief of like, in a person would never walk up to someone and go, oh, here's Chris, my best friend, who I've known since this. Like, you never think those thoughts, but actually you kind of, the reader allows you to just unpack it a little bit for them. So it's a weird thing. Yeah.
It's like, this is Alice, impressive CV, reference book 1.
Yes. Go and have a look there, because that's everything you need to know.
Yeah. I think that's my biggest bugbear with publishers saying that, make them all standalones. I'm like, no, I've invested in like 13 books. I don't need a recap. Just let the people who are invested, everybody else who's come into it the first time, do what everybody else does. Go to book 1 and stand there and buy the lot and just read through.
I'm quite a series purist. So if I accidentally pick up like book 6 in a series, I almost like recoil because I'm like, no, that's not right. And like one of the series I absolutely loved, was the Ellie Griffiths Ruth Galloway series. And I don't know how many that had. I feel like it had 16 in the end or something. Books in that. It was long, and it gets to the point where you can't sit down and explain the whole history of every character because that would be ridiculous, and they've gone through so many things. So there is a point where it probably actually doesn't work to
and I love that. I love finding like an author and I think, oh wow, they've got 15 books, brilliant. That's good. Let's get into it.
Yes, I love it as well. Like, and sort of, if you then love the book, it's like, oh, there's so many, and I can kind of pick these up whenever I want to now.
To watch or to listen to this episode, you can do on our Substack now as a paid member. By doing this, you will support our show to grow, be able to watch live, and ask your own questions too. For those who are not members, you will be able to watch the full episode on our YouTube channel and listen to the full episode on our Spreaker Prime podcast, 2 weeks after the live show. The WCCS, together as one, we get it done.